The Height of the Abbasid Caliphate, Intellectual Glory under Harun Al-Rashid and Al-Mamun by AZLAN ADNAN M.A. Sunday, 9th of November, 2025. The Golden Age of Islamic Civilization. The Abbasid Caliphate reached its greatest intellectual height during the reigns of Caliphs Harun al-Rashid and al-Mamun. Their rule transformed the Islamic world into a beacon of scholarship, art, and scientific discovery. This era, spanning the late 8th and early 9th centuries, was not only one of power and prosperity. It was a time when reason, curiosity, and knowledge became central to the Islamic worldview. The reign of Harun al-Rashid. Harun al-Rashid, who ruled from 786 to 809, presided over a realm stretching from North Africa to Central Asia. Baghdad, his capital, became the largest and most magnificent city in the world. Harun was a ruler of extraordinary vision. His reign combined administrative efficiency, cultural patronage, and a profound appreciation for learning. He established a governance system that valued consultation, merit, and the rule of law. His diwan, or council of ministers, included scholars, jurists, and administrators of various faiths and ethnicities. This inclusion was deliberate. Harun understood that the strength of a civilization lay in its diversity and its capacity to draw wisdom from many sources. The cultural and economic renaissance. Trade, agriculture, and manufacturing all thrived under his reign. Baghdad's markets overflowed with goods from China, India, Africa, and Byzantium, creating a melting pot of languages and ideas. Harun's court was famous for its refinement. Musicians, poets, physicians, and philosophers mingled freely with statesmen and generals. Learning was not confined to the mosque or the palace. It was woven into the social fabric. It was under Harun that the foundations of the great Bait al-Hikmah, the House of Wisdom, were laid. Initially a royal library, it would later grow into a vast academy of research, translation, and innovation. Harun's policies combined piety with pragmatism. He strengthened the judiciary, encouraged endowments for education, and promoted the building of libraries, observatories, and hospitals. He also ensured that scholars were protected by law and that freedom of inquiry was respected within the limits of Islamic ethics. This legal framework created a culture where learning was seen as worship and intellectual excellence as an act of faith. The transition of power. When Harun died in 809, his empire was strong and prosperous. But his decision to divide the caliphate between his two sons sowed the seeds of future strife. His elder son Al-Amin inherited Baghdad, while the younger, Al-Mamun, governed Khorasan in the east. Their conflict led to a devastating civil war that ended with Al-Mamun's victory in 813. Though tragic, this episode marked the transition from Harun's golden courtly splendor to Al-Mamun's more rigorous age of reason. It was Al-Mamun who would elevate the Abbasid Caliphate from greatness to intellectual immortality. The philosopher king, Al-Mamun. Al-Mamun was a philosopher king, deeply influenced by Greek thought and rational theology. He saw no conflict between faith and reason, only harmony between revelation and intellect. Under his rule, the Bait al-Hikmah became the greatest intellectual institution of the medieval world. Scholars there translated the works of Aristotle, Plato, Galen, and Ptolemy into Arabic, preserving them for posterity. But translation was only the beginning. Muslim thinkers began to expand upon, critique, and improve these ideas, producing original contributions that advanced mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and philosophy. A haven for scholars and scientists. Al-Mamun's court attracted the brightest minds from across the empire: Arabs, Persians, Greeks, Syriacs, Indians, and Jews. He provided stipends to scholars regardless of faith to encourage collaboration in the pursuit of truth. He also founded observatories in Baghdad and Damascus, where astronomers made precise calculations of celestial movements. They even attempted to measure the circumference of the Earth with remarkable accuracy. In medicine, polymaths like Hunayn ibn Ishaq and al-Razi developed clinical methods and ethical standards that would later shape European medical practice. Knowledge became an organized, systematic discipline supported by the state, policies that encouraged reason and justice. Al-Mamun's policies reflected a profound conviction that knowledge was a divine trust. He established endowments for teachers, libraries, and translators, ensuring that intellectual pursuit was accessible beyond the elite. Law and governance under Al-Mamun were also refined. He emphasized the role of reasoned interpretation, ijtihad, in jurisprudence, encouraging scholars to derive rulings that reflected justice and social welfare rather than blind imitation. His reign also saw theological debates flourish, particularly within the Mutazilite school of thought. They upheld the idea that human reason could discern moral truths and that the Quran itself invited reflection and inquiry. This atmosphere of free debate led to the flowering of Islamic philosophy, falsafa, which sought to harmonize revelation with logic. It was not a rejection of faith, but an exaltation of reason as a gift from God. The spirit of openness and inquiry. Such intellectual openness was mirrored in al-Mamun's diplomatic policies. He established academies, corresponded with foreign scholars, and even sent emissaries to acquire manuscripts from the Byzantine Empire. The Abbasid economy under him remained robust. Wealth from trade and taxation was channeled into education and research, making knowledge the most valuable form of capital. Even the arts benefited. Calligraphy, architecture, and literature reached new heights, embodying the unity of beauty and intellect that defined Islamic civilization at its zenith. The legacy of the Abbasid era. Al-Mamun's successors, though less brilliant, inherited the structures he built. His brother Al-Mutasim maintained order and continued to support scholars, but the focus of governance began to shift toward militarization. The intellectual fire, however, did not fade immediately. The institutions, laws, and values established by Harun and Al-Mamun sustained Islamic thought for centuries. Their reigns demonstrated that when faith embraces reason and when law protects inquiry, civilization ascends to greatness. The secret of Abbasid's success lay in the symbiosis of governance, knowledge, and ethics. The caliphs saw intellectual pursuit not as a threat to religion, but as its fulfillment. They recognized that divine revelation and human understanding were not enemies, but partners in uncovering truth. Their laws reflected compassion, justice, and the belief that wisdom could only thrive in freedom. Lessons for contemporary Islam. Contemporary Muslim societies face the challenge of overcoming the perception that Islam is backward, violent, regressive, and repressive. The Abbasid Caliphate offers enduring lessons for a renaissance of faith through knowledge. The first command revealed to the Prophet Muhammad was, read, in the name of your Lord who created. Surah Al-Alaq 96 verse 1. This is the divine cornerstone of Islam's relationship with knowledge and literacy. The following verses reinforce this calling. Created man from a clot. Read, and your Lord is the most generous, who taught by the pen, taught man that which he knew not. Surah Al-Alaq 96, 2-5. These verses establish reading, writing, and learning as sacred acts of devotion. The Quran also proclaims, say, are those who know equal to those who do not know? Surah Az-Zumar 39:9. Here, Allah elevates the learned above the ignorant, affirming that knowledge is the true measure of human worth. In another verse, the Prophet is commanded, and say, my Lord, increase me in knowledge. Surah Taha 20:14. This is the only instance in the Quran where God directly instructs the Prophet to ask for more of anything, and what he commands is knowledge. Allah also declares, only those who have knowledge among his servants fear Allah. Surah Fatir 35:28. True piety, therefore, is not born of blind obedience but of deep understanding. Knowledge and reverence are inseparable. The Quran reminds us again, and do not pursue that of which you have no knowledge. Indeed, the hearing, the sight, and the heart, about all those, one will be questioned. Surah Al-Isra 17:36. This verse enshrines intellectual responsibility as a divine duty. Taken together, these verses make the pursuit of knowledge a sacred obligation. The Abbasid caliphs understood this and built their governance around the Quranic command to read, reason, and reflect. Harun Al-Rashid and Al-Mamun turned those divine principles into living policy. They invested in education, translation, and dialogue, transforming Islam into a civilization of enlightenment. Modern Muslim nations must reclaim this ethos. They must treat education not as luxury but as worship, and scholars not as dissidents but as heirs to prophecy. Faith should once again inspire curiosity, not censorship. Law should once again protect inquiry, not silence it. When Muslims revive Iqra, read, as the moral heartbeat of civilization, Islam will once more become the light of the world. The message is timeless and clear. Civilizations rise when they seek knowledge for God's sake, and fall when they fear it.
International Day of Persons with Disabilities, Wednesday, 3rd of December 2025. Every year, 3rd of December is officially recognized by the United Nations as the International Day of Persons with Disabilities. It has been observed globally since its proclamation in 1992 under UN General Assembly Resolution 4730. The day promotes understanding of disability issues, supports the dignity, rights, and well-being of persons with disabilities, and raises awareness of the importance of inclusion in all spheres of life: political, social, economic, and cultural.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to show your support.